Come on. Alright, Streamlabs says we are live. Although I can never see the playback on D Live. My computer. So let's hope. That says it's starting, so
Yeah, we should be live.
yeah.
I got it pulled up on, or it showed up on my D Live account that you're live, so we should be going.
Alright. Says one viewer, it's probably me.
I think it's me
Yeah.
too.
It's just us. A weird feeling this is going to turn in, slowly degrade into a shenanigans stream by the end of it.
That's
Anyways,
fine.
yeah. Anyways, I did enjoy Endgame. I'm not good with scale ratings, so I'm saying yes. Watch it. I I do have to say though, and yeah, no one's there. I don't need to say spoilers. It's in the title. One of the things, it was emotional and it was inevitable, and everybody knew it was coming. Was the death of Tony.
Oh, you think it was inevitable? You
Well,
weren't on the fence between
I
Iron Man and Captain America on who was going to die?
I was on the fence. I had a debate where it was going to be both of them, but
Oh,
in the end, I knew one of them would probably die or both of them would die, and I'd have to face that fact. They were going. I knew they were setting it up for one of them to go, and
just
everybody knew it was
oh
coming. Was the
yeah,
death
that
of
I
Tony?
was I would have been. I mean, a real shock would have been if both of them survived. That would have been the real shock.
Yeah, it would have been. And
I mean, oh, go ahead.
and so, I don't know if anyone has said it, but yeah, everybody who was affected by the snap was restored. You can't bring back the people that were killed before the Infinity Gauntlet killed them. You know?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the same way I understood it when they were doing what I call the unsnapping, only to affect people that were killed by the snap. Nobody who was killed before it, like Loki and Heimdall.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, people who were expecting them to come back need to change their expectations.
yeah. My older brother though, he's he's been in denial and he's not so sure if Loki's 100% dead. I'm like, I think he's 100% dead and they confirmed it. But this would be funny. Whenever they decide to end the MCU, just whenever, it could be in the way future, they get him back for one scene in the end credits where it's just probably just him sitting there on a beach or something. That would be hilarious. I would laugh really hard at that. But you've seen the
If he, yeah,
yeah,
that would be
you've
pretty good.
seen the recent I sorry, the recent Spider-Man trailer, right?
I did not. They released another one.
Yeah. It,
I did not see that.
okay, so basically in the trailer, Mysterio is from another dimension universe, and what happened was the snap created a hole in the multiverse. So this Mysterio probably explains why it looks like he has powers in the trailer and stuff, and it could probably explain why he's good because sometimes in the multiverse, in another universe, sometimes the villains are good and the heroes are bad. DC's done that many times. So, but right now I'm
Right.
not judging it because it's still Mysterio and the whole thing can be a trick. But the idea of a multiverse, that means anybody who died in um these previous movies and we think are gone probably are still alive, but not from the current universe, from a different multiverse. They fell through the hole, now they exist still. So we could probably see, not going to say it's probably happening or if they're going to even go this route, but we could probably like see Obadiah Stane again. Or
Oh,
or we could probably end up seeing somebody like Ultron, and this also means Thanos isn't 100% dead because they only, took care of him in the main universe. You know,
Okay, so you are of the theory that we're working with a prime universe and ancillary universes went to grab the stones from when they were back in time.
yeah,
Okay. So every time that they went back in time, they weren't going to their own timeline. They were visiting an alternate timeline, which is one of the things that I had a problem with in the movie. And I wouldn't have had a problem with it if they wouldn't have said earlier in the movie when Banner is trying to explain it, which is one of the scenes that I really hate. I was like, I didn't realize you could say 50 words in 2 seconds.
yeah,
Is he explains it that they're going back to their own time, that they weren't going to an alternate universe. But then the Russo brothers came back after the movie came out and was like, no, they were going to alternate timelines to get stones. And that's how Captain America is able to visit his own timeline, actually, and show up in the present. And I was like, no, either one of these things is true or one of these things is false. You either are using alternate timelines, and that means that Captain America can't show up at the end of the movie because he'll be in a different timeline from where you have the time machine, or you're not going to alternate timelines. And to me, that means it fucks with the timeline and stuff should be altered, like when Loki disappears in 2012 at the Battle of New York. He's gone. Like that Loki disappeared. He's still alive in that universe because they lost essentially the Tesseract. So in that universe, there was no scene of at the end of the Avengers, him and Thor using the Tesseract and whatever that little computerized device is, transport the two of them back to Asgard. That doesn't happen in that universe or
yeah.
in that timeline or whatever the hell you want to call it.
Or I,
Then
I
they
thought I thought of
go
this
ahead,
too. He
say that again.
disappeared with the Tesseract, but we didn't see if he ever came back. What if Loki, after that, sometime came back? But what he did when he disappeared, like let's say, oh yeah, he was like in the bath. Let's just say he was like in the closet or behind something, and they like grab him, punch him, something. What if he went to Asgard, set up his plan for taking the throne from Odin secretly, and then just let them take him, and then he was in jail and everything was trying to wait for his time to come up. Because Odin was pretty much asleep for the whole movie of Thor the Dark World.
Right, yeah, he's in a coma or whatever.
Yeah. Was that even Odin or was it a vision? We won't know. And they don't need to tell us either, it'll just make you think.
Right, yeah. I don't need every little thing
Yeah.
explained to me, and I hate it when, oh, well, they didn't give an explanation for this and they didn't give an explanation for this. I was like, well, do you not want any intrigue or suspense or anything like in your movie? Like, do you want every little thing explained so that you don't have to think about any of it? Because it's really freaking annoying to me, at least, when you can understand what's going on, then the character still tells you, hey, I'm going to go do this thing, whatever the thing is. And you're like, well, I already knew you were going to go do that because of the conversation that you had. You didn't have to add that one line telling me that you were going to go and, work on the scepter for 3 days. You don't need to say that out loud, which is the only thing I could think of off the top of my head. We know that you're going to do that because of the conversation that Tony Stark and Banner had together. So when they
Yeah.
do stuff like that, it's really grating. It's like you don't need to add that stuff to the dialogue. Leave a little mystery out there so that people have to think. And if you're going to answer a question later in the movie or later in a different movie, excellent. But don't spell everything out leave a little air of mystery.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I still have a idea. He could have still time traveled, right? And everything time travel is still in the same universe, everything. Now, Captain America even makes you think, oh, when he goes back, then why don't you see him? Well, he probably hid himself from himself. Two, we already know his heart is pure and he's worthy. So he probably didn't need to do anything to interfere with the timeline, just, you know, enjoy life. Three, I forget if it's his granddaughter or probably will be his granddaughter or daughter, but it was, we heard it as Peggy's. I still forget if it was her daughter or granddaughter, and you see her in Winter Soldier.
Oh, and the Winter Soldier. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Here's some feature that you
It's
can
Sarah
define.
Carter.
Yeah, she is blonde, like Captain America.
Ah,
So the whole entire time he saw her, and it was his granddaughter, I think. I can't remember the whole bloodline continuity. It's foggy, and I have to watch those movies again.
no, right. They
Yeah,
do I've heard everybody, at least in our community, say how they're upset about that scene. Peggy talks about how she found another man and all this stuff and ends up having a family. Well, she never says who the other man, she never says his name, anything like that.
yeah. Knowing
I
Captain
mean,
America.
so it
Yeah,
could have been Captain America. I'm inclined to believe that it wasn't, just because you would think that when she meets Cap in the Winter Soldier, she would have known who her father was in some respect. Like, oh, well, I knew that a man like you or similar to you was my father, something like that. Because I'm pretty sure Winter Soldier is a Russo brother movie, isn't it?
yeah. But here's another thing I thought. What if Captain knew, Peggy knew, when the family knew, but certain members of Shield, like the Fury, knew who he was, but they all had to hide it from when they unfroze Captain. That it was supposed to always happen, and they knew that this was always going to happen. But he didn't tell them what was going to happen. They just knew that at some point he traveled back in time to live his life happily. We won't know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's what I believe. Is he found ways to hide who he was from himself. And right now, we don't even know if he went back in time to say if it was his name. But my brother was telling me, he's like, but she would have known it was Captain. I'm like, true. But nobody else could know that. Because all the people he, fought with, pretty much went their separate ways. And Bucky would be the only other person that would know what his face would be. And then Howard.
Right. Because
Yeah. They could have all done this
I
thing. Hide it. Yeah. Okay, you can go.
yeah, because they got no problem in Age of Ultron. Every single Avenger had no clue that Hawkeye even had a family.
Yeah.
Like
Shoot.
none at all. Like no, not even an inkling, except for apparently Black Widow knew.
Yep.
But they're real good at keeping secrets.
And then Fury, because he finds the barn and stuff, so
Right.
he
He
goes.
helped them. Right. He helped set it up, so he knew where it was, and it was off the books. So like Alexander Pierce didn't know where it was and shit like that. So the people of Hydra inside of Shield would.
Yeah, they want to find it.
You bringing up that point does help me a little bit because I don't remember about it. I was like, what would have been better for the last, not the last scene with Cap, but the scene with Cap and Peggy. I was like, in the movie, the first Avenger, they talk about how he's going to show up at the dance at the hall. I thought when they cut back, because, he goes back in time and then 5 seconds elapses and he doesn't return. And they were like, oh, what went wrong? What went wrong? What went wrong? And I was like, oh, yeah, I stayed in the fucking past. Big surprise. I mean, a lot of people saw it coming, and then they cut back to the past. I thought it was going to be him just showing up at the dance and, keeping his word and being like, oh, I'm here. You didn't expect me to be here because I just told you, a couple of days ago that I'm crashing this freaking ship into the ocean. But maybe that had to do with the hiding aspect. He wouldn't go to the dance and meet her, and they had to have dance inside of the house so that they were hidden from everybody else.
Yeah, because even at that time, he still was the poster boy.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows who Captain America is at that time, especially everybody involved with Peg.
Yeah,
So if they're like, wait a second, what the hell are you doing here? You're supposed to be enlisted. And he'd be like, nah, man, that's the 30-year-old Cap. I'm the 110-year-old Cap.
yeah, it,
So, oh, that
yeah,
that does help my brain not hurt quite as much as it did before. Thank you. So,
yeah. It's weird. The way I think, I can piece all these things together, and then so it's like some people are like, oh no, only the Marvel. But sometimes some of these Marvel fans think like I do and can sit back and kind of see how everything meshes together. It also kind of helps that you watch all these movies, right?
oh yeah, I mean it's I think it's when like one of the streams I was listening to last say, well, yeah, I'm a Marvel fan, I'm an MCU fan, so it's like, okay, you're a Marvel fan. Well, that means you could have been a fan of X-Men or Fantastic Four, or, break it down. Maybe you were only a Wolverine fan, or maybe you're only a Deadpool fan. But then they say they were an MCU. Like, okay, well, that's like a subset because that's these films, which are essentially their own comic book universe because some of the characters in their universe aren't identical to the character that's in the comic book. So you have to go with the character that's in the universe. And they say they're an MCU. And then I say back to them, okay, so did you see every movie? And they go, well, no, I didn't see every movie. And I go, whoa, 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 whoa. So which ones didn't you see? And if the list is longer than just Captain Marvel, I have a hard time believing that you are a big time MCU because what the hell have you been waiting for? It's not like you can't go and find them at like the Red Box for $1
Right.
or a friend who might have a DVD or something like that, or a lot of them are on a streaming service somewhere. I mean, there's all kinds of places. The previous 20 fucking movies, like, I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched the movie Iron Man, especially in the year 2009. I probably watched it over 100 times in that year alone. I
Yeah.
watched it way too many times.
And
And I'd still watch it again because I love that fucking movie and he's my favorite Avenger.
yeah, I still
It
watch it
kept
from
going.
time to time
I
too because I love
I
them.
rewatched all of them movies way too
I mean,
that's because I love them.
yeah, I know I
So
don't have
Captain Marvel.
all of them. I know I have at least the main Avenger ones, and some of them have gone missing over the years. I'll be honest. But here's the thing: if you're an
Don't you love
MCU
that?
fan, if you want to say you're a fan of the MCU, you've at least seen all of them. You don't have to see them in theaters, but you've at least sit through all of them from start to finish, and you kind of have an idea of the plot going on. There are
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people that refuse to watch the Thor movies because they're slow and boring, but they
See,
kind
and
of
I like them.
I do too. But a lot of times they explain the whole other part of like the universe and the dimensions and how they all cross with each other.
Yeah, I mean the Thor movies, as in the first two, not the third one. Third one is like different. It's got a different director. It's got a different type of story to it. The
Yeah.
first two, the first one sets up essential space and how it's connected. Like, how are the different dimensions connected and all that stuff? So you have to go through all of those slow scenes with the doctor. The fuck's his name? I'm drawing a blank right.
I am too.
Shit. Oh, Selvig, Dr. Selvig.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, you got to go through his scenes and all his explanations and shit. If you want to, pause it and read his freaking chalkboard. And then the second movie is essentially a movie revolves around Infinity Stone.
Yeah, and
It's
the realms
crucial.
crossing.
Yeah, it is crucial to the setup MCU. Yeah, I will agree with it. It's not the best movie in the MCU. Like when I was making my movie, I
Yeah,
I wanted to try and do it the easiest way I could think of. So instead of sitting there and going, well, here's 20 movies, which one's the best? I started at the beginning of release order and said, okay, here's Iron Man. Okay, do I like the Incredible Hulk more or less than Iron Man? I put it less than. And I just kept on working my system like that. You know, the next movie I say, did I like it better than this one? And I just kept on ranking them, kept on. And it ended up with Infinity War at the top and Captain Marvel at the bottom. Surprise, surprise.
yeah,
Movie. It's just, I didn't think that the MCU was going to make a boring movie. And that movie was boring to me. Yeah, it had some good spots in the movie. And what I was looking forward to the most, not a lot of people were, especially the ones that I've talked to, was I wanted to see Bill Coulson in the movie. And then you get through about 20, 25 minutes of it or so, and then she finally gets to freaking Earth, and I'm like, okay, now stuff is actually going to start to happen, and we can move the story forward. Coulson shows up, and I'm like, oh, he's going to be a rookie in this? Some funny shit is going to happen. And he gets one funny line, and then he's not funny in the next scene, and I was like, what's going on here? He's a fucking scroll. God damn it. I don't even get real Phil Coulson. Son of a bitch. I was fucking pissed. So then I'm sitting here watching the rest of the movie with kind of a fucking, grinding my teeth a little bit like, okay, is it going to get better? Going to get better? Is it going to get better? And it didn't. Then I get to the post credit scenes and I was like, okay, those are pointless too. And I see the post credit scene where, Captain Marvel shows up in her extra makeup and long hair and asks where Fury is. I was like, oh, so that's the scene that's going to be in Endgame with Captain Marvel. Nope, never fucking shows up. 3 fucking hour movie and you can't fit in a fucking 10-second scene? What the fuck, guys? I mean, that's not the
I
way it
it's
used to work.
the 3 hour movie, but they didn't want anything to ruin it. My my brother actually he told me he found it funny. She came on the screen, she didn't get a line for the first 15 minutes. I don't know if he timed it, but he said about the first 15 minutes she didn't say anything while she was on screen. Well,
Ooh,
once her character was introduced.
no, that's true, right? Because they do the whole thing of, for some unknown fucking reason, Nebula has to prop Tony Stark up in that seat. I was like, okay, like if I'm sleeping on the floor, don't set me up in a chair. But
Well, I
whatever.
mean,
Okay, I got
the
past
the
that.
chairs could be more comfortable. I'm like, oh, maybe the chair is more comfortable. You know, maybe he's sick, so she doesn't want him like choking on his vomit, right? I don't
Oh,
know.
maybe.
Maybe
Okay,
you could
okay.
see he was in. He was really ill. Tony was extremely ill.
Oh yeah, he was not.
Yeah.
He definitely was not his most healthy self. They
No.
said they were already starting to thin out the rations.
Yeah.
He
He
was doing
was.
like the 400 or 500 calories a day instead of over 1,000 or whatever you have. Us adults, and that was like, okay, I'm watching that scene happen. I was like, prop them up in the chair. And then, yeah, it flickers for a little while, and you're sitting there waiting, waiting, waiting. And then a light starts to appear. And as soon as I saw that light, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. No fucking way. Come on, come on. Pan out. I still had my fingers crossed at that point. And I was like, please be a ship. Please be a ship. Please be a ship. Please be a ship. And I was like, um, nope, it's Captain Marvel and her butthole hyperdrive.
I mean, they like subtly inserted her too with that, but I'm like, for me, like, would have
See,
made a little more sense if like the Ravagers found them
yes, that would have made way more sense. It's a Ravager, and
instead of
I
yeah,
don't
fix their ship
see
up, send them off to Earth. You
if
know?
you think that it's subtle. I think that it's a little ham-fisted because it
Yeah,
made sense. I mean, I didn't necessarily like it per se, but it made sense in the Captain Marvel movie post-credit scene that, oh, Nick Fury hits the pager and the pager brings her to Earth. That
yeah,
makes perfect sense, right?
yeah. That makes sense. I
Right.
know. There's that, but I'm like, oh, if they're gonna have her introduced that way in this movie, then it's subtle. But then I'm like, wait, there is that pager, and then I just kind of stopped thinking about the pager because I'm like, well, let's see what happens. And I noticed she barely did anything in that movie, which is nice, so they didn't like overdo it. But she like only did two things: found
So then
Tony, blew up the ship by flying through it, and to be honest, the ship the ship thing could have gone down. They could have written it to be destroyed any other way. Once again, I'll bring up the point of the Ravagers. Could have written them in because we know they like know the Guardians. Whatever's left of them, they could have come in. They could have destroyed Thanos' ship.
right, I mean, okay, so Thanos snaps his fingers, kills half of the people. He didn't destroy half of the ships. I will allow the fact, just like at the end of Infinity War, you see that one helicopter crash, and I'm sure a couple planes crash because, half of the pilots get killed, right?
Yeah,
So let's say some of the Ravager ships ended up crashing because the fucking pilot died or something like that.
yeah,
So let's say there's 45 or 95% of the ships still out there because only, 5% of them crashed. Well, you can take the 50% of your crew and still split them in half and still use all of your fucking ships. All of the ships are still available
yeah,
because half of your crew is dead doesn't mean you can't use all of the ships.
yeah,
But yeah, what I thought to bring it back to the pager point, because I always thought that the post credit scene is supposed to be like intertwined, like the end of I can never remember which movie has Thor's hammer at the end of it.
it might have been Captain America.
Yeah, I think it's Captain America. So then you have Coulson going to the land of enchantment. The hammer is stuck to the ground and no one can lift it up. Okay, not stuck there. It's just unbelievably. You see that fucking scene in Thor's movie. Like you don't
Yeah,
see it explicitly word for word, but you see that scene happening and playing out. All
yeah,
I wanted to see was I don't need to see it verbatim of Captain Marvel asking where Fury is, but I needed to see a version of that because I was thinking to myself, okay, Captain Marvel, she says that she's out there protecting all of these fucking planets because everyone else needs. Okay, it's okay with her saying that. But what are the odds that Nick Fury is this pager to bring an individual from a random point in the galaxy to another random point in the galaxy, which is Earth? She just happens cross paths with Tony and Nebula. Just happens to cross their path as she's flying through fucking hyperspace from her butthole hyperdrive. And it's like, oh, there's a ship just floating out there. I guess I should go see what's going on over there. She doesn't have, like, as far as I know, a communication set or beacon in the suit. Because I know she does have some in the suit, like it's fancy ass suit. But as far as I know, there's no transponder that will tell her, "Hey, there's a ship 5 light years away that has its emergency beacon on."
yeah.
As far as I know, that's not in her suit. That was in the Kree ship that they were in.
And
So it's,
she,
I mean, little stuff like that where they used to use it properly in the MCU. They didn't seem to use it properly going from movie to movie
And
because
here's the thing too.
I don't think the Captain Marvel movie was necessarily supposed to be released in between these movies. Because guess
No,
what? If you take it and you move the release date to today, like release the movie today, Captain Marvel, it doesn't change the story at all.
no, it
Not one
doesn't.
fucking bit. It doesn't change Endgame and it doesn't change Captain Marvel. The release
Nope.
date is irrelevant. They wanted to make money off of it. So they're like, ooh, if we put this one scene at the end of Infinity War to make people think Captain Marvel is
Also,
integral and
there's
then
one more
release it right
thing too.
before Endgame.
That
Go ahead.
tribute to Stan Lee. They didn't do it really in Endgame, and I thought, oh, they'd have something at the end. No, they did it with Captain
Oh,
Marvel, and I think they did that too to help boost that sales. People would be like, "There's a tribute to Stan Lee," and people were like, "Oh, go see
yep,
it."
totally. Which that was the one thing. I was like, really? You started off Captain Marvel, and I was gonna make a video of this, but I never. It was gonna be a super short, like less than a minute video, even with intro and outro. And it was just gonna be a everything you need to see in Captain Marvel or Endgame. And I was just gonna like find the intro with Stan Lee's cameos over the Marvel logo, and I was gonna like find. I'm sure somebody recorded it on their phone, so I was gonna find that on the internet, put that in there, have it play out, and it's what 10 seconds long or something like that.
Yeah,
And then right after that, I was gonna say, and that's all you need to see, and end the fucking video. That's all you
right,
need to see before Endgame and Captain Marvel, and only because it's a nice little fucking tribute. Because
right.
I thought only MCU stuff. Apparently, all of his Marvel cameos, X Men, Fantastic Four stuff, they're all in there. So then I thought going into Endgame, I was like, oh, they're gonna do the Stan Lee Marvel intro again, right?
Yeah, I thought
And
that's
they
what it
did.
was going to be for all the movies of this year, though. Too with that, I
Yeah,
hope, I really hope it didn't need to be an Endgame because they probably had everything set. We don't know when they finished Endgame. They could have had it done at the same time, right? But
yeah.
I hope they put that at the beginning of the Spider-Man movie because Spider-Man is Stan Lee's boy.
Oh, yeah. That is his favorite character. His
Those,
not pet
it's
project, but his. I mean, a pet project. There's a better way to.
his creation. He did.
Yes,
He's the one that created it. It said he's a co-creator, but he's the one that wrote who Spider-Man was because he was a
exactly.
writer.
He's. I would say, yeah. If he's co-creator, he's the 95% co-creator.
Yep. Because I think the main
Because
guy,
yeah, I know that.
yeah, because I can't remember who the other guy who's considered the main one, but yeah, that was his. That was one of his first heroes. He was able to really write for and create a whole personality for
Pretty
Marvel.
sure that one is done with Jack Kirby.
Yeah, but that was his big one.
Not a hundred, not a hundred
It could have
percent, but
been.
I'm pretty sure that one's done with Jack Kirby.
Yeah, and it could have been, but that was his big one. That's the one that took off. Spider-Man
Yeah,
became Spider-Man jumped when they released that.
I mean, is this an adult friendly stream?
Yes, you can say whatever you want.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. When I turned 18, went to the head shop to buy my first pipe, and I got there and I'm looking at all these ones and everything, and everybody wants to buy a glass because they're nice and they got all these cool colors and all this stuff. I don't want to buy a glass pipe because they fucking break. So I'm looking at all of the metal pipes they have, and they essentially are just pieces of metal that have threads on the end so you can, put them together however you want. But I found one, it was red and blue. And I thought to myself after a while, everybody names their puppy. That's a thing that we do. And I looked at it and I looked at it, I would bet that most people out there would name this Superman because it's red and blue.
Yeah.
But I'm a fucking MCU shill. And Spider Man wasn't even in the MCU at that point. And I said, fuck that shit. It's red and blue. I'm going to name it a fucking Spider Man pipe. So that's what I fucking called it. And
Spider
then,
Man.
hilariously, when we went down to Green Bay a couple weeks ago, was putting gas in the car, feel in my pocket by my wallet, and I was like, wait a second, what the fuck? I go back into the car and I was like, you see my pipe anywhere? And the wife goes, no. Are you sure you brought it with you? I was like, yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure I brought it with me. It's gone. And I was like, yep, so Endgame really is the end of the MCU. I know this because it was the same time that I lost my pipe. Fucking bastard.
Yeah.
Total
I,
coincidence. What are the odds?
Here's something somebody commented in the Spider Man, and they said, "What if this, the MCU? What if the MCU is pretty much they didn't say that. I'll just say I'm just going to elaborate. But what if the MCU is over with Endgame and that's it? But like I said, the Spider Man's going to be exploring with the multiverse. Somebody said that in the comments, like the beginning of the MCM, which is the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. What if they're going to call it that from now on?
Ooh, I
I
wouldn't
would.
necessarily be opposed to that. I mean, what I was telling other people, I was like, well, since Iron Man is dead, and I said as a joke to some people, I was like, well, if we're talking about the core three Avengers, the big three, Iron Man died, Thor left. We don't know. I mean, he's going to make an Asgardians of the Galaxy movie, and
Or if,
as
yeah,
far as we as
be
far as
there.
we know, Captain America could have stood up off of that bench and fucking died right there on the spot. He could be fucking dead too, for as far as we know. So I
Yeah.
mean, two out of the big three died, and of the second three, Black Widow died, Hawkeye. They really make it
He's
seem
probably
like
going to go
he's
back to retirement.
oh, I thought they made it seem like he was going to retire.
Well, yeah, he was retired in Civil War. He'll probably just go back into retirement.
Right, yeah, like he made the deal like, hey, I'm just gonna, retire and go live with my family until they start the movie. Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh. As soon as I seen that's how they start in the movie, I was like, oh, this is predictable. Everybody knows what's gonna happen here. And then sure shit, the whole family gets dusted. I mean, everybody knew his family was gonna get dusted from the first trailer freaking a year ago when they show him as Ronin with his blade. They're like,
Yeah.
how come he's out there all alone doing this thing? His family must be gone. And we're like, yeah, yeah, his family's definitely gone. They probably got dusted and they just didn't show it on film. Well, it just took them a little while because of how they edited it. They didn't want to make a 5 hour and 40-minute film called Avengers Infinity War Endgame,
Yeah.
which is what it essentially came out to be.
Yeah. And I'm waiting for these. I'm waiting for Endgame. I got to see it again. You can't just watch it once, obviously. But I'm waiting for it to come out on DVD so then I can take Infinity War. I can pop that in, watch it, to pop it out, throw in Endgame, pop that in, watch that, back to back. I'll probably see a lot more seeing them back to back then.
Yep, that's the same thing that Lee said that he wanted to do. He's like, they made the movie as far as at least filming it and writing the story as one movie. It's to be one entire story. And when
Yep.
you break it up where they broke it up, it really makes it seem like a two-part story. But yeah, when you're able to just, take a freaking Saturday afternoon and, you're going to have to take at least one bathroom break in the middle of it. So take 6 hours, maybe 6.5 hours if you're going to stop and, get something to eat or something like that. watch this entire freaking movie as one movie, maybe you'll feel different about it. It'll be, Infinity War, Endgame Saga, whichever way you want to say it. I
Yeah.
was like, at that rate, I would want to. What I told somebody is, I want to get the ultimate cut of the MCU, and I don't care if some of the scenes individually don't necessarily make sense. Like take Captain America: The First Avenger, because essentially all that movie, except for the post-credit scene, takes place in the 40s, so you'd be able to watch all of that, and then you'd be able to watch essentially all of Captain Marvel because that takes place in the 90s. And then once you get to the new movies, start to cut up the movies so that the scenes that take place
Uh oh. You lost your, oh.
single, so that you're just jumping from one movie to the next movie to the next movie, and you're just watching all one big, like, I don't remember what they said, it's like 60-hour movie or something like that, and just
Yeah.
start at the beginning and walk all the way through and see what the story looks like when you can watch one solid story without any, breaks in it per se. Because, yeah, some things might be a little confusing because you're like, oh, why are we cutting back to this one scene that happens in Wakanda or this one scene that happens in Asgard? And you'd be like, well, this is when it happens in the timeline. So this is the order I want to watch. So when they come out with that, because at some point they're going to come out with the I don't know what they're going to call it, but they'll call it like the first decade box set, and it'll have all 21 or 22 movies in it, and it'll be like freaking $300 or $400 like that. And be like, here you go, here's your box set. I'll be like, yeah, but now I got to figure out which order I want to play the movies in. Do I want to play them in release order? Play them in critical order? You company, do you know what order the scenes go in, and you have them all available to you right now? Just make the movie. I will pay for it. I told a bunch of people that are comparing Endgame to The Last Jedi, the worst comparison I ever fucking heard in my life. I
Oh.
put it, yeah, I put it very simply. I said I was happy that I paid to go and see Endgame. I was furious that I paid to see The Last Jedi. Simple.
I was satisfied with Endgame's ending. I'm like, you know what? This was a great way to close. This was a great way to close the other movie and close what the MCU up to this point. When I watched The Last Jedi, I did not. I came out of theater, did not know what to make of it. It's like I had that dry feeling in my mouth. You know.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember explicitly walking out in December in Wisconsin, cold as fuck, and I got out of the theater, like the full building, not the individual theater, because I didn't want to like swear in front of any children or anything like that. And I
Yeah.
opened the door, and as soon as it closed behind me, I turned to my wife and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" And she's like, "What?" I was like, "I don't know what that was, but it was not Star Wars. They just put the Star Wars name on it and turned on a lightsaber to make you think you're watching Star Wars. But that wasn't fucking Star Wars."
No.
When I went and saw Endgame, I knew for a fact this is an MCU movie. This, I mean, to do the direct comparison, 30 years passed and nobody believed that that's what would happen to Luke Skywalker. Only 5 years passed, and I totally believe that's what would happen to Thor.
Yeah. The thing is, like, Thor, like Luke, you've known him as a character that never would lose hope ever, at all. Through he was built up to never lose hope. Thor, I was getting concerned for him at the beginning of Infinity War and at the end of Ragnarok. I thought he was going to slowly lose his mind because he's lost everyone and everything he's cared about. And at the beginning of Infinity War, he lost his brother.
Yep.
Yep. So when he lost again, so what he thought he once he could beat Thanos, he could defeat Thanos, he would have fixed everything, it would be all right, right? He'd save the day, prevent the world universe from being destroyed. He didn't. He failed, and he couldn't undo it. And then
Yep.
once
Go
they
ahead.
got to Thanos in Endgame, and he said the Infinity Stones were gone, he pretty much cut off his head and because he was pissed off, and then he just kind of moped out of there.
Yeah, I mean, talk about. I don't know if it would have worked for The Last Jedi, but the MCU added in not even the full scenes, just those two lines. And the one line is Rocket saying to the group when Thor's sitting in whatever that side room is at the headquarters, oh, well, he failed and he feels like shit. And they pan over to him, and you just see that look on his face like, fuck, man, I let everyone down. And then, Tony gets back, Captain Marvel shows up, they have the conversation from the trailer, and they're like, okay, let's go up there and kick his fucking ass. Okay, cool. They figure out where he is, they get there, they're holding him down, find out that the stones are gone, and you're like, oh, fuck. And then here comes Thor, and I was not expecting it. Total shock moment, chops his fucking head off. And then the way that you hear, not the exact words, the way that he says the words, I went for the head. And you're like, wow, he really, that's the end for him. He don't care about anything. He accomplished the one task that he needed to do for, the rest of his life, because life is over. He killed everyone he cared about, and now he retroactively or after the fact, you know, did the one thing that he was supposed to do in the first place. And now it's too fucking late, but he still fucking did it to, try and make himself feel better, and it didn't fucking work.
Nope.
And then boom, 5 years later, he's a fucking alcoholic, beer consuming, crazy bastard who yells at 12-year-olds,
Yeah.
which
Thor was
I know a
broken.
lot of people, not a lot of people, but a few people that I've talked to were like, well, Thor's not like that. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Thor is totally like that. He will always back up his friends. And the only friends that I know he's hung out with from the way they've laid out this scene is Korg and Meek. Like he just sits in his house all day, gets drunk, and plays video games.
Yeah, because
That's
his real
that's what I get
friends,
out of that scene.
yeah, his real friends, his friends that he had for years, they're dead too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, the only friends that are left that he knows of and can contact were Steve Rogers and Natasha. That's it.
yeah. It was the friends from
And I don't
his
think,
Avengers and the people that were still alive at the end of Infinity, but at the end of Ragnarok, and it said the ship was split in half, so half the people didn't die on that. So we obviously figured out in Endgame, Valkyrie was still alive and Korg and Meek.
yep, which I was so happy for, because of all of Ragnarok, Korg is my favorite character, and I love pretty much all the characters in that
Yeah,
movie. Like I love what they did to Thor in that movie. I love what they did to Hulk in that movie. I love
yeah,
Valkyrie in the movie. Um, oh shit, I love Hela in the movie.
yeah.
I love Jeff Goldblum in the movie. I love everything about the fuck did I put my list? I think I have it at like third or fourth on my list. It's right
Yeah.
at the top.
And
I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, it's not the same Thor." I was like, "It's not meant to be the same character that you're introduced to in the first Thor."
yeah,
Iron Man in Iron Man 3, just in Iron Man 3. We're not talking like Avengers Infinity War Iron Man, just in Iron Man 3 is not the same fucking character he is in the original Iron Man.
yeah,
There
because
is character progression.
they showed he changed after. They had to show immediately that he changed after the first Avengers movie. And every day of his
Yeah,
life,
I
he
mean,
feared the events of Infinity War and Endgame. And then that's why he's all beaten up at the beginning of Endgame, because what he feared came true.
yep. And I did like once they, make it through the battle. I really want to know what Thanos' sword is made out of, that it can chop through the shield.
It's probably just vibranium.
No, I would guess because in Marvel Comics, the question is which metal is stronger, vibranium or adamantium? Nobody knows. I was like, well, what happens if you combine the two?
Well, one of the things is now, I forgot where I saw it, is vibranium actually is kind of like an alloy a little bit with adamantium and vibranium. But the thing is too is
Oh,
the only thing that can destroy vibranium is vibranium. And you can even
right.
see that in the Black Panther movie. And that's how that
Yeah,
kind of
I mean,
fits in too. So they
yeah, I
killed
did.
each other. They all had vibranium armor and stuff, but they managed to kill each other because they had
Yeah,
vibranium to combat vibranium.
vibranium versus vibranium. And as far as we know, maybe there's a stronger metal out there. I'm not a comic book expert. I grew up in the 90s. Most of my comic knowledge built off of cartoons, whether it's, Spider-Man or X-Men, or to go on the other side of the comics, Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, stuff. That's where I get most of my knowledge. So when they built the MCU and they're like, here's the characters, I was like, oh, well, fuck, this is pretty good. I'm not one of those guys that are like, this isn't the character from the comics. I was like, okay, well, which comic runs are you talking about? Are you talking about the comics from the 60s, the comics from the 70s, the comics from the 80s, the comics from the 90s, the comics from the 2000s? Because all of those fucking Spider-Man or Iron Man or Fantastic Four or whoever the fuck you're talking about, they're all different.
Yeah.
They're not the same. They have a different writer, they have a different artist. They change the characters all the time. So you have to take like the amalgamation of all the characters and make your own, which is one thing that I love about the MCU, is that it's not beholden to the comics where they go, oh, well, here's Iron Man from the comic books. We got to bring him exactly to life how he is in the comic books because I fucking hated the movie Watchmen. And then I find out after I've watched it and, do a little research on the internet, oh, well, they essentially took the Watchmen comic book, whatever freaking specific book it is, I can never remember the number, and they essentially just took the pages and brought the pages to life. Like the scene of whenever the guy's getting pushed out of the freaking skyscraper and breaks through the window, that is drawn specifically in the comics. Like one for one, they ripped that out of the comic. And that's why a lot of comic book people love that movie. You can't just turn comic books into movies. It doesn't work. You can't do it one for one. There has to be a little bit of inspiration behind it, and you make your own story. Because if
Yeah.
I can go someplace and spend, $1, $2 for something that's not like a collector's edition or something that's not super rare, and just read the fucking story, and then I don't have to go see the movie. So you're only going to see the movie for essentially the explosions and the shiny shit. I'm not going to go see the fuck. That's not what. Yeah,
No.
I like seeing the explosions and the shiny shit. It needs to have a good story, which Endgame and Infinity War together, I think, a great story, especially capping off the arcs of Iron Man mostly, and then Captain America, because they definitely leave Thor's arc wide to go forward.
Yeah. And here's the thing we were talking about with like which generation of comics. There's a thing known as the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, and the Modern Era. Now, I want to use DC as an example. because Marvel usually does soft reboots when they want to update some characters and stories, and then DC likes doing big hard reboots. Sometimes they do soft
Right.
reboots. So like the Crisis, I'm pretty sure it's a Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they pretty much kill a lot of people, and this is pretty much the end of the Silver Age, I want to say. So the or yeah, because that came out in the 80s. I'm sorry, my
Okay.
brain's going fried. But anyways, in that they killed the Superman from the Golden Era because he is not the same Superman that was built that we all know today. That one was built up in the Silver Age. Actually, a lot of the TC characters we know were built up the way we like them in the Silver Age. And then they
Right.
killed Barry Allen, and then he didn't come back until many years later. But it's like
Yeah, I know a lot of
there's
people.
still a so then there was a long period of time where people thought, oh, Flash is supposed to be Wally West.
Yep.
Yeah, not Barry
I
Allen.
know that. I mean,
Yeah,
Ezra Miller. I thought Miller was going to play Wally West. They were making him like this kind
no,
of weird guy or whatever instead of being sure of himself. That's what I thought fucking Barry Allen's supposed to be like. And once again, that's only from watching Justice League, the animated series. I know who Wally West is in Justice League, the animated series. And then they introduced me to Barry Allen in the series. Hey, here's two different Flashes. And then watched Young Justice, and you get introduced to all four Flashes. And I was like, oh, okay. So now that I can see all of them on a screen or whatever together, you can see exactly how they contrast them and their style and how they speak and all
yeah,
that. Then you try and watch the Justice movie, and this is not Barry Allen.
no,
I can just watch the TV show The Flash and tell you this is not fucking Barry Allen. If
yeah,
they would have cast Ezra Miller as Wally West Flash, I think a lot more people would be on board with it.
yeah. And here's another thing. There's also a lot of kids at the time before the Justice League came out. There's a show called Batman: The Brave and the Bold, and they do a good job of trying to acknowledge. It's supposed to be kind of more like it's not a dark theme. It's more of like one of those brighter toned Batman ones, kind of like let's say the Adam West days,
Okay.
right? Though it's not too dark. It's supposed to kind of have a general audience. What it does in that is it does show like pretty much all the heroes throughout all the things, and he'll fight with them. That's why it's called Batman: The Brave and the Bold. And it'll even bring up characters that you don't really see anymore in comics because they don't make them. And if you want to introduce somebody to all DC and what it is, that'd be a great way to do it. Even though some people might like the darker tone Batman, it's a great way to kind of show
I
everybody
don't,
all these heroes, all these villains. You know, it's still a
yeah, I
fun
don't,
cartoon.
yeah, with Batman, I don't necessarily need a darker tone. The only problem is excessive use of, because I talked to plenty of people and they're like, well, Batman does use guns. And I was like, in what fucking comic? And they're like, well, he uses it in this comic, in this comic, in this comic. I was like, okay, so there are a few individual books there where he uses a gun. How many individual books out there are there he doesn't use a gun? Because I know growing up, the time that I did, I would say a lot of people my age, early 30s, late 20s, around there, when they see Batman shooting a gun, they expect a fucking grappling hook to be on the end of it, not a bullet to fly out.
No, and he has
As far as
used
I'm,
guns in comics, but I was just like, oh, I don't care if he's used a gun or anything. The thing is, there's some people that are like, oh, Batman should kill people. I like how we got into it from Marvel to DC because they're trying to talk about how characters should be. It was like, well, I'll bring Spider-Man to this. Some people are like, oh, they should kill, right? I'm like, no, no, they
oh yeah,
shouldn't. No, they shouldn't. Now in Endgame, Spider-Man did kill those creatures, But that's because those were like creatures and they're fighting with Thanos, and they're basically grunts. So I'm like, that's kind of, I'm going to give a little leeway with that, right? He was trying to
Yeah,
survive.
I
Those are
think
grunts. Those are
yeah, I think
species. This
there's a
would be like the
difference between
Shatari.
fighting. Yeah, there's a difference between fighting Chitauri grunts and fighting like the main villain like Mysterio.
Yeah. Now they can't kill people or people just live there every day because basically what we see with the Shatari, they're all pretty much grunts. They're bred to fight. They're bred to kill. At least that's how they're
Yeah, I
brought up
mean
in the
they're
MCU.
essentially zombies.
Yeah, but it's like I can't see Spider-Man going out there beating a bunch of going out there to fight crime and then he kills all the people who are robbing the store.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not gonna work. A
because
lot of people think, oh well, it's a superhero. They have superhero powers. Everybody can act like Deadpool.
no, it's something like
Yeah, exactly.
even
No, he's a
Superman doesn't really kill his
superhero.
people, and he could kill everyone. The
Exactly.
Injustice has proven that. I haven't really played that, but I know that he kills people in that. They don't. There's a certain line they say it. There's a certain line some of them cross. Now, Captain America and Iron Man, they can kill people in certain ways that they're written, right? Because Captain
Right.
America's a soldier, Iron Man's a not so much, but it's like I can't see like the two characters like Spider-Man or Batman killing them, especially with what happened to them in their past, which they both lost someone and they promised that person they would never when they they didn't promise them directly because they were dead, but they promised themselves to them that they would never kill someone to take them away from their family.
Exactly. I mean, they're explicitly, and I I don't know how many people would be able to argue against this, but most supervillains explicitly set up to be put in prison so that they can break out of prison so that you can fight them in a later comic book. If you fucking kill everybody in the first fucking run, how many fucking villains do you need to come up with?
Yeah, that's one of the problems they've had. Well, no, I don't think that's the main problem, but they sometimes have problems with the Deadpool comics. Some of them are golden, right? And some of them are not. Nah, I haven't really read so many of the Deadpool comics, more the idea and the plot behind them and his origins and his bringing up, or like if he's with something. But it's like sometimes his comics can be very hit or miss. And sometimes it can go
Right.
just to extreme fourth wall breaking, and that's it.
Right. And I like the way that they set up his character, and I don't know if they're ever going to integrate him into the MCU because how adult his character is. But I like in his two movies the way they've set up his character that progressing forward in the sense that he's killing less people because he's trying to be a better person. But
Yeah,
when push comes to shove, he's still going to kill you.
yeah,
Whereas when you like contrast that to somebody like Superman in Man of Steel, okay, he got pushed so far to the breaking point that the only way to win was to kill Zod. Okay, if I'm going to get on board with that, the next movie, the entire first half of the movie better be dealing with personal emotional repercussions of Superman actually having killed somebody for the first time ever intentionally. Because it's possible that he's killed people in the past accident, because he didn't know how to control his powers or whatever. But he made the active choice to kill somebody. I mean, similarly, but not exactly, like Spider-Man in Endgame, when he's getting attacked by whatever those things are called. I think they're Chitari, but I'm not sure because you see their big freaking. It's not a spaceship like animal, but whatever those things are that ant punches in the face.
yeah.
when he starts getting attacked, he turns on insta kill mode, which I loved because I was like, finally, he gets to actually use it. I've been waiting freaking, I waited the entire movie for him to use insta kill mode for Homecoming because I thought Homecoming was okay. I mean, I loved it because Tony Stark was in it and he's my favorite Avenger, but beyond that, I thought it was a pretty good movie. It doesn't, I mean, yeah, at the very beginning, I will stick by it's not a retcon. It's an editing error. They put the wrong number on the screen. So they're not fucking up the timeline in Spider-Man. They just have the wrong number on the screen. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Everyone says, oh, well, if that's supposed to be Spider-Man in Iron Man 2, the little kid that he saves the, beginning of the end battle or whatever, and that's only 6 years difference, I think, but the movie says it's 8 years in the future. Well, that's a huge fucking retcon. I was like, or it's an editing error and somebody's an idiot.
Yeah, because it showed
That make,
after
that
the
makes way more
Avengers
sense.
at first. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that, but they didn't really say when it went back to now. You just assumed it was now.
Right. So people get people get hung up on that. That's a totally different style of editing error because you're not really affecting anything in the active scene because you're just setting the scene. You're trying to place it in the timeline. You know, compare it to The Last Jedi, where, stuff just disappears, like the extra blade that disappears. Well, they edited that out because it didn't make sense. So that wasn't an editing error. That was a choreography error that they tried to fix in editing, and all of us caught it and was like, come on, guys. You're
Oh, I,
Disney.
I watched the full
Make it a movie.
breakdown on that, and it's actually way worse than just that. It is really way worse. But yeah, I think we should be winding it down though. We've been on for about an hour or so.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, just noticed
Okay.
the time.
I didn't know we were on that long. I guess when I talk about Marvel, time does seem to fly because I love it so much. Which,
Yeah,
to make my overarching point, I love it so goddamn much. I feel like that's why I was not hugely disappointed with Endgame, but a little disappointed with Endgame. You said you don't give number ratings because you don't like doing it that way. You just like the movie and you suggest it to people. And I suggest that people go see it in the theater. It's a good movie. Go and see in the theater. Think that you'll be happy that you spent your money. I'm happy I spent my money to go and see it, but I think it is the worst of the four Avengers movies, probably because it gets convoluted when you start adding the time travel aspect.
yeah. That's
Because what
gonna
I said
happen. That's
to,
gonna happen with time travel movies. There's always gonna be
yeah,
a problem.
what I said to, I think it was Chris Knight. I said when we got to the end of Infinity War, pretty much the only question that I heard people asking everywhere was, okay, how are they bringing the heroes back? We all knew that there would be a Spider-Man 2, Black Panther 2, Doctor Strange 2. So those three characters were dusted. We knew they were coming back. The big question was, how are you bringing them back? How are you bringing them back? Nobody was asking, how do you, quote, defeat Thanos? It was, how are we bringing the characters back? When you get to the end of Endgame, there's questions all over and not just necessarily plot hole questions, but like, where are these characters going forward? Why does Gamora magically disappear? Like, she's there because she comes with Thanos in his ship through the time travel. So she's physically there, but then at the end of the movie, they're searching for her for no reason.
Yeah, and
It
I'll say
blows my
one
mind.
thing on that. I got an argument with my brother. It's like, well, did they die? And here's my thing. I don't think they died because Tony probably snapped it, and what he could have done, he could have snapped. But then his thing could have been they all go back to their time where they belong, and they forget everything that just happened. everything.
Oh, you think that Tony's snap was a little more specific than just I'm destroying Thanos' army.
Well, yeah, because he's thinking because he knows they're not from this time. They belong back in the past.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he didn't destroy them. He just put them back in their timeline, is what you're
Yep. And they don't remember anything because he probably took it out of their
saying.
memory.
I didn't think about that because yeah, they could still totally disappear the same way, falling to dust, but then get reconstituted in their timeline because we never see how any of the other people that got dusted, get put back together. Like they're just, magically alive and then everyone walks through a portal.
Yeah, we don't know where they went. Some people think it was a soul stone.
Yeah, everyone thinks that they were inside the soul stone.
Yeah, we don't know where they went, but
Inter-
we know they came back. But I'm pretty sure that's what Tony did. He just sent them. That's probably the way they disappear. It's
in their
just
timeline.
dust. Yeah. All right.
So, but you don't think that he would be able to differentiate between the people who are actively fighting for Thanos and Gamora?
Hmm. I know he just probably everyone that came through the portal. He could have probably just thought everyone that came through the portal there.
Oh, okay, okay, I got you, I got you.
Yeah. Everyone that came through the portal go back to where they belong. So Gamora
Right,
could
it's
be back.
kind of like doing a wish on the magical lamp type thing. Think of
Yeah.
one sentence or so, make that happen. Boom, these characters are gone. Interesting. That's the first time I heard somebody with that theory. I like that theory.
Yeah.
That one helps me a lot with the end of the movie, especially with the Gamora part, because that was I was racking my brain over that. I was like, wait a second, she was just fucking standing. Why the fuck do they think she's missing? Why are they searching for her? Couldn't figure it out. And that's when I made my video about looking at the credits for Endgame on Google. They're missing a whole lot of people on there. And then I went back to cross reference them with Infinity War on Google, just on Google, because I figured Google would have like the big names on it. For some unknown reason, when I went back to look at Infinity War, Tom Hiddleston is not listed for Infinity War. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So that's why I made that second video that said Avengers Endgame was so big it broke Google. I thought it was pretty funny, but nobody fucking watched it.